Most traders possess a perfectly brilliant analysis. They have done their homework, they have recognized the trend, and then they ruin it. They ruin it instantly, irrevocably, by committing their full capital too soon. They mistake certainty in their mind for confirmation in the action of the market. The conviction feels so strong, they assume the price must move immediately. So they plunge, they dive headfirst. They are not buying a position, you see. They are buying an argument. They are rushing to prove their point, and the market, being an impartial and merciless entity, will charge them dearly for that haste. You must understand this. The greatest fortunes in speculation are not built by seizing opportunities in a grand single strike. They are built by testing the waters, by confirming the current, by observing the depths before committing the ship. My primary rule for entry was never truly asterisk where asterisk to buy. The superior question was always, how much to risk on the first solitary attempt? The full commitment, the whole line of stock, must wait for permission. It must wait for the market to give the signal. We are not guessers here. We are disciplined speculators, and discipline begins the moment you decide to engage. Subscribe now, like this video, and leave a comment. By doing that, you help more people see this message, and you let me know this work is not in vain. The crucial lessons of proper capital commitment and gradual entry are rarely learned cheaply. The market itself usually administers the harsh penalty for impatience and overeagerness. To circumvent this exhaustive expense, we must study the experiences of those who paid the highest price. Edwin Lefebvre captured the entirety of this costly education in his 1923 volume, Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. Reading it is not merely enjoyable history, but an invaluable intellectual training ground, a place where you can witness Jesse Livermore's operational trials without staking your own capital. Because the environment has evolved significantly since Livermore's time, we specifically recommend the Max Davidson edition. His contemporary commentary serves as the essential translator, ensuring the wisdom of the past remains actionable in the complexity of the present. A link to this essential edition is provided in the description below. The primary function of the initial trade is not to generate massive, immediate profits. If you are focused on profit at the outset, you are already losing focus. The function of the first purchase is to prove your judgment is sound. It is a necessary test. Before I ever commit my full resources, before I load up the car with the family's wealth, I must demand that the market itself validates my opinion. I put the first feeler out. I make a small bet to see if the large bet is advisable. If that initial test trade immediately moves against me, even slightly, I know my analysis, however brilliant it seemed on paper, is incorrect at this time. The market has spoken, and by listening instantly, I have saved the bulk of my capital from a demonstrable error. The foolish trader buys a stock because he believes in the company's future. The intelligent speculator buys a stock because the price action confirms that the move has begun. Never bet on potential. Only bet on confirmation. Your goal is to be right cheaply. If you are right, the market rewards you. If you are wrong, you retreat and conserve your ammunition. The entire premise of successful entry hangs on this concept of testing. If you bypass the test, you convert speculation into outright gambling. This is the principle of proving it right. You do not argue with the tape. The tape dictates the truth. This method requires a precise limitation on the initial engagement. You must be specific, mechanical, and rigorous. Never, under any circumstance, put on more than 20% or 1/5 of your intended final position size at the initial entry point. That first tranche is your scout. It is sent ahead to test the enemy defenses. It goes out with minimal risk to gauge the environment. If the scout reports back good ground, if it moves forward without resistance, then you advance the main body of the troops. If the scout is cut down, if that first 20% immediately sinks underwater, the main army retreats without heavy losses. The initial capital outlay should be small enough that the loss is merely tuition paid to the market for a necessary quick lesson. This initial buy must not be placed arbitrarily. It cannot be bought simply because you woke up this morning and felt like it. It must be placed at a significant price point, a breakout above a critical pivot, a high watermark that has been clearly established and is now convincingly exceeded. The market must signal the move has started before you commit even this small percentage. This is the difference between anticipation and confirmation. I refuse to pay for anticipation. I only pay for confirmation. If your first tranche, that 20% position, is put on correctly, the market must immediately move in your favor. I mean this literally, not slowly, not a day later. It must start to show a profit, even a fractional one, almost immediately. If you buy at the pivot and the price lingers, struggles, or drifts back towards your entry price, it indicates that the resistance you thought was vanquished is still too strong. The confirmation was false. The move is not ready. You must not tolerate indecision at your initial entry point. Indecision is a loss of momentum, a lack of conviction among the large players. A correct trade, a trade based on sound judgment and proper timing, feels comfortable almost from the start. You are immediately swimming with the current, not against it. If you enter and are immediately uncomfortable, fighting the urge to sell out because you are staring at a small loss, you have failed the test. You have bought too soon, or you have bought incorrectly. You must have a demonstrable paper profit on that first lot before you contemplate committing a single additional dollar to the venture. This small initial profit is your required ticket to the next phase of engagement. It is your proof. This brings us to the great distinction between intelligent speculation and destructive gambling. The intelligent speculator pyramids only into a profitable position. If you are sitting on a 3-point or 10-point gain on your initial 20% position, you are adding to strength. The market has agreed with you. You are reinforcing a winning position, which is the only strategic way to commit more money. If you are averaging down, if you are adding capital below your original entry price, you are compounding a mistake. You are adding to weakness. If you buy more of a stock that has fallen from your original price, you are stating implicitly that you were right in your analysis but wrong in your timing. The price tells you you were wrong entirely. Pyramiding is the reinforcement of successful judgment. It is strategic advancement. Averaging down is pure desperation. It is an emotional attempt to justify a flawed trade. It is the action of a defeated mind hoping for a miracle, rather than a disciplined mind reacting to fact. The rule is rigid. Never add to a losing trade. Never. It violates the essential demand that the market must validate your decision. Averaging down violates the core principle of gradual confirmed entry. It assumes that if a trade is wrong now, demonstrably wrong, it will eventually be right later. This is faith, not finance. Every single purchase you make below your original entry price means you are throwing good, saved money after bad logic. You are increasing your exposure to an idea that the market is actively rejecting. The moment you begin to average down, you lose the ability to clearly define where your mistake began. You blur the lines. Your entire position becomes a single messy knot of hope and fear. It locks you into a position that hurts more and more the larger it gets, because your largest purchases are closest to the current, lowest price. It destroys your mental stop-loss discipline. If you average down from 100 to 95, you are less likely to take the necessary loss at 90, because now the magnitude of that loss feels catastrophic. You become paralyzed. The man who averages down is always seeking comfort in numbers. Thinking a lower average price makes the position safer. It makes the position larger, heavier, and far more lethal when the decline continues. The disciplined speculator takes the small initial loss immediately, corrects the thinking, and reserves the capital for the next confirmed opportunity. The reckless speculator deepens the hole. Your subsequent entries, tranches 2, 3, and 4, must not be arbitrary additions based on feeling confident. They must be mechanical. They must be placed at clearly defined increasing price increments. We call these our mechanical ladders. These increments are typically the next major pivot point or resistance level that has been convincingly broken and held. You identify these levels before you place the first trade. They are part of the original blueprint. The market must climb to the next rung on the ladder firmly and hold there. Only when that price level is secured do you advance the next 20% of your capital. This ensures the market is always, continuously justifying your increased commitment. You are not betting on a hunch. You are responding to irrefutable action. If you bought T1 at 100, perhaps T2 is not bought until 105, which represented a previous high or a clear consolidation area. You must wait for the price to confirm the break past 105 before committing the second 20%. If the move is real, if the trend is strong, these confirmations will happen. If the confirmations stall, you hold the 20% position and wait. The market must do the heavy lifting of justification. Your job is only to follow the money, not lead it. This is where emotion kills capital, even when the trader is fundamentally right. Many traders, once they are comfortably sitting in a winning position, rush the final commitment. They deploy the final tranche, the last 20%, too quickly. Why? Fear of missing the move. They see the stock accelerating and panic, thinking, I must get the rest of my money in before it runs away. This haste puts the largest amount of capital, or the last critical amount, very close to the temporary top, the natural consolidation zone that precedes any strong correction. The discipline of gradual entry means forcing yourself to wait for the strongest confirmation, the highest, most convincing pivot break, before deploying the final piece of capital. You must be patient when you are right. The ideal commitment of the full line is achieved slowly, methodically, step by step. The longer the market takes to confirm and justify your commitment at the higher pivots, the more assured and substantial the eventual trade is likely to be. The discipline in entry is tested most severely when the trade is winning. You must not permit greed or excitement to replace the methodical process. Risk management does not stop simply because you are showing a paper profit. It accelerates. As each successive tranche is added, T2, T3, T4, the stop-loss order must be adjusted upward. It must trail the rising price to protect the accumulating paper profit. You're moving the original protection point higher and higher, locking in gains on the previous commitments. Consider this. If you bought T1 at 100 and T2 is now established at 105, your stop for T1 should be moved from 98, or wherever it started, up to perhaps 101 or 102. You must make that first tranche, the oldest entry, essentially immune to loss. By the time the final tranche, T5, is added at the highest confirmed pivot, the original stop-loss order should be moved high enough so that the overall blended position, if stopped out, incurs minimal loss, or ideally is protected by a substantial profit buffer. You are leveraging the market's own momentum to reduce your risk exposure on the entire trade line. The goal is to achieve a risk-free position, a position where your initial capital is entirely safe, as quickly as the market allows. A winning position should never turn into a losing position simply because you failed to protect the initial gains. The process of entry is complete when you have committed your calculated full line of capital. That is, when the final 20% has been deployed at the highest validated level. You are finished buying. Once the position is full, once you have your full line, you must switch your mind entirely from the process of entry to the process of holding. The skill required changes completely. You must not be tempted to add beyond this calculated final level. Doing so risks emotional decisions, often spurred by exuberance, and inevitably leads to over-leverage. The largest amount of money should be committed only after the market has offered 4 separate confirmations. Adding the 120th percent is usually the most ruinous decision. It means you are abandoning the mechanical ladder for a whim. If the stock continues to climb, you do not chase it with more capital. You simply allow the existing, fully built, and confirmed position to ride the trend. The greatest skill now becomes the patience to sit still. Not continued buying, but disciplined holding. Let the profits run. The work of building the house is over. Now you must live in it. The ultimate achievement of the step-by-step entry method is that your full, large position is established with minimal mental stress. The tension, the worry, the gut-churning fear that plagues most speculators is absent. Why? Because the bulk of the money, the T3, T4, and T5 tranches, was only placed after the market had already guaranteed the thesis. The market built your comfort for you. You did not buy on hope, you bought on demonstration. A well-built position is comfortable. It requires minimal watching. It does not demand constant second-guessing. The speculator who attempts to deploy the full line in a single rush will be constantly checking the tape, worried sick about every minor fluctuation that threatens his massive unconfirmed risk. The disciplined man who scaled in can ignore the small drops. He knows the market has already proven the direction. This method allows the market's true momentum, not your worry or anxiety, to drive the profit. Your emotions are neutralized because your risk is minimized and your entry is validated. You have built a fortress of confirmation. Now you simply wait for the siege to break. The position should be established so perfectly, so mechanically, that you feel no pain when the inevitable corrections arrive. You built it correctly. Now you hold it correctly. I understood long ago that the real profit begins the moment you cease fighting the market and begin aligning your actions precisely with its direction. Mastery over the entry process is mastery over your own emotions. Stop trying to hit the jackpot with one heroic rush trade, that is for the bucket shops and the fools. Start treating the market like a jury. Present your initial evidence, the 20% scout. Observe their sentiment. Wait for the price action to confirm their leanings. Only commit your financial resources when the verdict, the market's decision, is clearly and mathematically in your favor across multiple rising pivot points. Control the process entirely. Master the mechanical scaling. If you control the process, the substantial profits will inevitably follow. They must follow. That is the law of the market.